Good evening. Warm welcome, everyone, my fellow analysts of European economic integration. Tonight, our high-level lecture series welcomes Danielle. She is the CEO of Beltec, so Belgian Association of Digital Technology Leaders, also president of INTEC, the international counterpart. Both organizations indeed represent, obviously, their members, but are very active in informing policymakers on diverse topics, ICT innovations, but also security, obviously data privacy topics, all very high on the policy agendas at the moment. Nice to know is that Danielle has also been awarded the title of IT Person of the Year previous year. So in short, a leading lady when it comes to our digital society. For tonight's lecture, important to note that at any point in time that questions arise, please feel free to interrupt, to ask your questions, so no need to wait until after the lecture. Active contributions are very much encouraged. This being said, I gladly hand over. So, Danielle, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for your kind words. So I must say this is a challenge. I'm used to speak for audiences of very serious people, always in their suits, and people where I know what their background is. So I have no idea what your background is, so please interrupt me if I'm saying things that you say, what is she talking about? We don't understand, or if you say, we all know that, so just skip it. So I try to do my best. It's really a challenge because you are doing a master in international politics, and I'm not really having a political background. So everything I'm going to tell you is based on input I have based on daily contacts with people in companies. Companies that are working in banks or retail or whatever, all sectors. The people I meet are mostly working on digital. The people I'm representing are not, or the companies I'm representing are not the IT companies. So that needs to be very clear. So it's the business user side, like you are consumers, like you are using lots of applications and so on. So we are also users, but the professional market, companies and private and public institutions. So what I have done is I just brought some topics together. So it's not really a story with a very nice start, middle, and end. It's just some elements that I want to bring to your attention where companies suffer from, or what the challenges are, or what they are, just what is keeping them awake at night on the level of digital aspects. So, as Caroline said, so Beltec is the Association of Digital Technology Leaders. It means IT managers mainly. So we have the IT managers of Colruyt or BNP Paribas or industry companies, and as I said, a lot of public institutions as well. We exist because I do not know how you cope much better than I probably with all these digital things, but it changes every week. New applications pop up, new possibilities pop up. In companies, that's the same. It's also moving very, very fast. But in a large company, it's not so easy to change your IT policy or your IT strategy every week, because people need to know the tools, they need to be able to work with them, you need to implement them, and in the meantime, the company needs to be able to, it needs to be up and running all the time. So what they are looking for at Beltec is that they just come to us to meet their peers and to exchange experiences. For example, last week we had a session on artificial intelligence where we had some companies explaining what they are doing with artificial intelligence, just to have the opportunity for the other companies to pick up new ideas, or just ideas that they get for their business, or to ask questions to the companies that are a little bit further ahead than they are, or just come to get some confidence, like, okay, they have these problems, we have those problems too, okay, so maybe we're on the good side. So they just come to learn from each other. That's the first thing we do. Second thing we do is we, as Caroline said, we go to a lot of politicians, not only politicians, also people from Privacy Commission or BIPT, the regulator for electronic communications, just to explain what kind of issues companies face when it comes to digital or to IT. So that's the second part, and the third part is informing people. So what we do is, you probably heard of the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, which was introduced some time ago. Companies really had a lot of questions because you have a legal text of 80 pages, and you need to translate that in IT. A legal text interpretation, IT, no interpretation, yes, no, that's not so easy. So it's important that we bring some recommendations. So what we've done, for example, for the preparation of the GDPR, we made a lot of tools. We made questionnaires. We made some checklists they can use so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel all by themselves. So that's so far for the introduction. How large are we? We have 1,800 members. These are people, and they come from 485 companies. So if you take the larger companies in Belgium, then most of them you will find within Beltec. We do not have a lot of small companies. It's not because we don't want them or we have anything against small companies. It's just that we have all these sessions where we exchange experiences. It's very difficult if you have a company with 5 people exchanging experiences with a company with let's say, 1,000 people. But so that's the whole ecosystem. Oops. So, done something wrong, so. Okay. Okay. So this is the picture. Everything I said in one page. So we have this 1,800 people. The domains we work, because digital is large, so we brought it into 4 domains. Privacy is very important for all of you, but also for companies, because they need to respect the privacy of their customers and their employees. So they have to be careful with the privacy aspect. Security, I don't have to explain why security is so important. The green part is IT and innovation. As digital becomes a little bit the heart of a lot of companies, innovation is key. So companies need to look maybe into blockchain or in AI or in other new technologies. So that's an important part as well. And then maybe a strange one to you is a procurement. So as I will explain later, contracts and buying software is really something which became very, very difficult for businesses. So we have those 4 domains where we group different people. And as I said, what we do, knowledge sharing, recommendations, so the checklists and so on, informing people and do the lobbying. So if we have some barriers that they have in their digital strategy, then we try to go to governments, national, international, or to regulators to explain what the problem is. So these days are very amusing. Don't know whether that's a good word, but exciting anyway, because you probably heard that 5G networks are coming, so the new mobile networks of the future. And the politicians don't really move very fast. So we have a lot of positions, a lot of discussions with the telecommunications operators, with IT companies, but especially with our members on what 5G can bring to them. But I will explain later what it is about. And so special dimension, and I think that's why they invited me here, is the international dimension, because Belgium is very small, as you know. And regulations, especially on the domain of digital and electronic communications, are more and more based in Europe. So let's go to the topics. So, okay. As I said, so we are the voice of the business users, at least that's what we try to be. So we have a lot of contacts with Minister De Backer. Previously it was De Croo, but there were some changes in the government. And so Minister De Backer is responsible for digital agenda and privacy. We speak a lot with the Privacy Commission. Well, you probably won't know him, but at the picture at the right-hand side for you, there you have the president of the Privacy Commission, who comes quite often to our meetings to hear what our problems are. And so the people from the cybersecurity, they are on the bottom. Also there we have a lot of discussion. So that gives you already a kind of flavor on the topics we are dealing with. But I would like to start with artificial intelligence. But first of all, well, I have a question for you, because I really would like to make it a little bit interactive. But since you are recording, so you maybe not like that. It's okay. So I just want to know if artificial intelligence, what it means to you, what you think of when you hear the words artificial intelligence, can somebody say something? You don't want to?
Self-learning systems.
Yeah, okay. The drones? Yeah, we're mentioning the drones. Yeah, okay. There are two separate topics. That's good. Yeah. Well, the problem I have is when we speak about artificial intelligence, which is a bad name because machines are not really intelligent, but we hear a lot about the robots. Like people think robots are coming and robots are going to take over. Yeah, I'm left-handed, so it's a bit difficult to go to the computer with my right-hand side, so that's why I'm a little bit hesitating. So people think often about computers. This is something I met in an elevator, being in Shanghai 2 weeks ago. So this is a little robot, and he is just doing the room service. So he's bringing some toothbrush, in this case, to a room, but he can also bring small things, not really a lot, but okay, it helps the people from the hotel. But I also know some examples from, there is a hotel in Japan who started with using robots at the lobby desk. But they had to change their mind because at the beginning they had almost all robots and just 1 or 2 humans. They now took the decision to have 50-50, 50% robots and 50% humans, robots, because that's their kind of unique selling proposal. But humans, because people really would like, if it's about hospitality, about coming into a hotel, you prefer to have a human being. So that was maybe not such a good business case. There was another hotel. They had a little robot, so these small things, also at the reception. It was a computer called Connie. And it was for a very, very high price. Those people really paid a high price to have 20 questions answered by that Connie robot. So that was not really a lot. It was not a success. And the strange thing, so when they analyzed the questions people were asking to that robot, it seemed that the question that was asked more was, where were the strippers? And so people just made a conclusion. So robots are used in that case for questions people don't dare to ask the people from the lobby or for the reception. So don't think about robots if it's about artificial intelligence. It's more about software. So the first reaction was a good one. It's machine learning. It's about software. So it's maybe more boring than the robots. But oh, sorry, I have this too. Yeah. But it's about software. And so just some real examples that you may have heard of already. So an insurance company, a Belgian insurance company, which I know quite well, they use artificial intelligence to do the dispatching from all the emails and the letters they receive. So until recently, they just had people who had to read all the emails and have to read all the letters coming in. And an insurance company, that's really a lot, and a lot to the wrong persons. And so those people had to divide this kind of information. They have now software which is based on words or customer numbers or whatever information is in the email or in the document, where it can go to the different departments for further treatment. At the beginning it was a mess and people were very upset, not the people sending the messages because they did not know, but the people working for the insurance company, because they said it was much better when people were doing the work. But as you said, it's machine learning. So based on the feedback from the people when it was wrong, the software learned to do it better and better. And in only six months, it really has improved a lot. So that's a real-life example. The fraud alert, if you have banks and other companies which have a lot of accountancy being done, software is really very, very good in detecting some correlations or some trends to find fraud. The picture, well, it's not a very clear picture on the left-hand side at the bottom. That's the example which is presented the most when it comes to artificial intelligence. It's to find skin cancer. So if you see a dermatologist maybe sees, I don't know how many people, but maybe tens or hundreds patients in a year, the software can compare figures or pictures of thousands or even millions of pictures. And so they've seen that it's very, very strong in detecting what kind of skin problem has a big chance to become skin cancer. So that's an application which is already now quite known. I just heard of Barco, which is a very famous and a very strong Belgian company. They are now thinking about this example to find out how can we also use artificial intelligence to detect other diseases. Maybe not only on the view, because here with skin cancer it's something you can see, but maybe with temperature differences, maybe with something in your irises. A lot of diseases have some exchanges, or maybe just with internal views that they can make. And so also in the industry, artificial intelligence is being used more and more. If you don't have this and you're just having a kind of industry plant and you're making something, when the machines that make your product are going broke, okay, then they're broken, then it's done. If you have sensors everywhere and you can see what happened before something broke down, you can use that information to predict when something is really, when it's better to replace a certain element in your production factory. So everywhere applications are, and they are here now, so it's not science fiction, it's already now. As I said, we had this meeting last week, and there was an example of a payroll consultant. So it's going everywhere. I also know a very small company. They only have 10 people, and they are doing the rollout of smartphones. So if you have a company, let's say you have a company, you have people in different countries, maybe working on boats. You have to take all these iPhones or Samsungs or whatever it is out of the box, install a lot of software and so on. They have developed an AI application because it's always the same step. So it's perfect for artificial intelligence. It's always the same step, and you learn with the mistakes, and they can do now the rollout for large companies much, much faster than they used to be able to do so. So artificial intelligence really changes a lot. So you probably are all fond of statistics, and you probably had some courses on statistics, I presume. I had it here long time ago, I remember. And so if you work with statistics, you work on samples, small samples, large samples, and you work on data that is already there, so things that already happened a while ago, to find correlations, to see the trends and detect them. With artificial intelligence, you get so much data available, but in real time, which you can analyze, and it's massive, so that's why they call it most of the time also the link with big data. And so you can have a lot of new information to bring up to make decisions, sometimes wrong decisions, but it's really a complete new world. I just had the example of As It Works last week. So the payroll consultant, they had some software installed right now, and they want to predict the sickness of the employees, of people of their company, of their customers. So they are doing all the, don't know whether you know what payroll consultants do, but they just handle all the holiday administration, the payment of the wages and so on. So all the administration which is linked to employees. And so when they started, they made a very big mistake. So they said, okay, we have the figures from January, February, March. So we just do extrapolation like you do in statistics. But all the months of the year are not the same. And so after a year, they saw that with the Christmas period or December, winter, maybe people get more ill than in the other parts of the year. So you also need to be careful that you don't make predictions based on information if that information is not, if it's not good, that you have always the same basis. So people are not that many sick in summer than they are in December, which is very logical when I tell it like that because they experienced it. But in a lot of cases, it's not so obvious. So you need to really be very careful because it is so massive and you are doing treating so many data. There are quite some risks, and that's when politics are coming in. So some of the considerations, and there are much more to make. Somebody well, it was mentioned in a different context, but there was a dating app, and that dating app worked with facial recognition, and so based on the preferences, people chose, the application was presenting types of people, but just on the basis of the face, which is a little bit awkward, I think. So it was not so nice as an idea. But the same application afterwards was used in refugee camps in Africa, where it was used because a lot of people, when they are refugees, sometimes they lose part of their family, and based on the way their face was looking, they could find much more people, or easier, because if you are in a refugee camp and maybe you're in different ones, or there are lots of people, with the application it was much easier to find people. So same application can be in a different context lead to very, very different results. A company, an international company, was creating a kind of application. And so after a while they considered that they had a problem in Japan, and that was because the basis, it was an American company, and the way people in America treat elder people is completely different from the way they do in Japan. And so they had a bias, so they really had a problem. Another possibility, or another example, concrete example, a credit card company used AI to figure out how much credit people could have. And they had to stop it and really use people to make the decisions, because it was very, very clear that women were granted less credit than men. Don't know why, but that was the result. So they said, okay, we cannot use it. Microsoft, large tech company, they used, they said, okay, we are going to artificial intelligence, and they used a virtual Twitter account. And so they put it in the air, and after a couple of hours they had to stop it down, because what do you think happened? Yeah?
The account became racist and
Yeah. Only after a couple of hours already. And so they tried to improve it, made it live again, and they had the same problem, because the software was learning from what it saw on Twitter happening. So the bias is really a big, big issue. So it's something when I see where we talk with companies right now, that they really have to be very, very careful of. When people are now trying to make applications, it's something that I hear now very often. So in the old IT world, in companies, it was like you make a proposal, you think about it, you do a functional analysis, and then you build your software, and then you're 5 years further. That doesn't work anymore. So what people are now doing is, okay, just make a minimum viable product, and just try it, and you make it ready, and you have something, and afterwards you will develop it further. With AI, that is very, very, very dangerous, because then you can have consequences you would not expect, and which you don't want to have. Even Google had a bad example. They, of course, do a lot of on recruitment and on job advertising. And they also based an algorithm, or they used an algorithm using AI. And also they had to stop, because it was very clear after a while that just white men were getting more jobs offered than people with other races or women. So that was very, very bad. So in the European Commission, it is now a very hot topic. So AI and the ethical part of it, although nobody knows how to deal with it, because it's so new. And also on the political level, what is very important is to innovate. And what we see is now, for example, in China, but also in France and in the US, a lot of money is invested, money from the government for research and development in AI. So as Europe, we should think, should we work together, or do it every country by country, which is maybe not such a good approach. So we are in this data economy, because who says artificial intelligence is really talking about data. And so what companies do is not just using the data they have, but they also include external sources. You all know probably Waze, owned by Google, by the way. So it's very good if you want to drive your car to the right place. But that uses the data from the Flemish and the Walloon and the Brussels regions on the traffic roads and so on. So they use open source data, data that governments need to share with everybody. So you need to include external data sources. There was quite some discussion about the telecommunications operators, so Proximus and their competitors, that you can buy now, being a company, their mobile user data, not individual, of course, but if you want to know how many people are in Brussels at that moment of time in that spot, which kind of people, so they have a lot of, are they young, old, are they looking for something? So it's not individual, but it's something, that kind of information you can buy right now. And so Proximus just announced a couple of days ago that they stopped, that they offer all their customers the opportunity not to share their data in those massive information they sell. What also is very new to companies is that you have to have partnerships. So let's say you are a company with a little construction plant, and you say, okay, I understand AI, that's the way to go. I'm going to work with a little company specialized in AI. Most companies in Belgium that are doing AI, you have the very large ones, but you also have a lot of small innovative companies. And so one of those companies, they started to work together with a small one. They were very happy with the result. They had a lot of trends and analysis, and they knew a lot, nice. But then they said, oh, but now we have this and this information, so we could also make these and these conclusions or ask for this and this information. But then the partner, or well, it was not really a partner, so it seemed, so the company, the little software company, they said, in your contract you signed that all the data are ours. You don't own the data anymore. So if you want to have extra analysis, no problem, we will do it for you, but you will pay for it. And that is something which is new, so companies need to realize that data is really, well, it's called the new gold, but that you need to be very, very careful with who can alter your data, use your data, commercialize your data, because there are going to happen some more accidents. Some other examples to explain the importance of data. You all know bol.com. Anyone who bought something or ordered something with bol.com? No one, haha. So you probably know then that bol.com, well, it's a Dutch company. It's owned by Ahold Delhaize. They are very clever. So at the beginning, they sold their own material, their own products, but now they are also a supermarket, an electronic supermarket for all other companies. So if you now order something, you can see that they say, okay, maybe it's not there tomorrow because it's not a supplier, or you order 5 things together and they all come separately because they come from other shops. But what they've done is, if you want to use, being not bol.com, but being another company and offering your products via their store, then you give the picture rights and the description of the product, you give it to Bol. They become the owner, and they can use the picture and the description of the product. Big advantage, if you are a small company, you have an incredible new supermarket, a virtual supermarket. You can reach a lot of people. Maybe a disadvantage, I do not know whether they do it, but they can see which products sell very well and maybe go to that supplier, the company that makes those products, or import those products and offer it directly themselves in their own store. So owning of data. It's data again. You probably all know Elon Musk. You probably don't have a car from Elon Musk. But he wants to change that. Until now, the Teslas are more for the people with higher incomes. But the strategy Tesla has now is it would be nice that people with less income could have Teslas also. How can you do that? 98% of the time, the cars, not only Teslas, all cars are just standing still. So why not become a kind of Uber, but with Teslas? Why not say, okay, you want to have a Tesla, maybe you don't have enough money, but okay, no problem, there's a kind of sharing model behind it. why don't you sell Teslas at a price, but you know afterwards you can rent it and you can have this Uber thing, a kind of sharing the cars. Tesla can then offer also insurances because they have this autopilot, so they know your driving behavior, so they will be able to have insurance policies maybe based on the way you drive. They will have the batteries, and a lot of batteries at home, but also batteries that are on the way, batteries that cannot be used by other car brands, by the way. So they will have in the future also have information about the electricity you use, your habits. So they will have a lot of data. So they have a lot of opportunities in the future. I do not know what will happen with all the parts, but okay, Elon Musk has done things before people thought that would never become reality. It's also about data. It's not about the Teslas, it's about the data. This is a slide I made. I gave a guest lecture 2 years ago here, and then that was that week in the news. I don't know whether it happened in the meantime. It's from 2 years ago, but that was great news at that moment that Huawei was going to provide 5G infrastructure. Now we are 2019. 5G is not there yet, and it will not be there for a couple of years to come here in Belgium, at least. But 5G is really will be very, very important. I can imagine that you think, okay, we had 2G, 3G, 4G, and we will have 5G. It's just something faster, and that's it. That's not the case. It's a really very, very bad name. They should have given it a completely different name because there's a very big difference. It's faster, yes, but I don't think you will be able to read your newspaper faster. Well, newspaper, you don't read newspapers anymore. The news on your on your smartphone, so you cannot read it faster than you already can. Yes? I will come to Huawei in a moment.